Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, most people have a herd mentality. In other words, they don't think for themselves. They always do what everybody else does. So I got an email here from a guy who's kind of struggling with this because on one hand, he says that some of the people, some of his friends, they behave one way when they're around him, but then when they get around other people, they're completely different. It's just like split personality. He's thinking, what the fuck? I mean, you see this a lot in high school. I remember like when I was in high school, everything was very cliquish. You're hanging out with your friends, and then you're around each other at school, and they behave differently. And that's something that everybody deals with and notices. And to a large extent, most people in society, they just do what everybody else does because they want to be accepted. They don't want to stand out. But the reality is we were all meant to stand out and be amazing, not to fit in or to conform. Because when you try to fit in and you conform, it stifles your creativity, it stifles your personality of who you really are, and it gets in the way of you becoming all that you're capable of becoming. So I have a quote that I wrote, and I'm going to go through his email. And the quote says, "You are completely unique and one of a kind. There was no one else who was exactly like you. You were created to stand out and demonstrate your unique combination of gifts, skills, and talents, but not to conform to what other people or society says that you should be. Being who you really are is one of the most freeing but most difficult things you will ever do in your life. Why? Most people are sleepwalking through life, have a herd mentality, and are trying to conform to societal or peer group conventions in order to gain acceptance. People who are awake and aware have no interest in groupthink or conforming, but only in being themselves and being around other like-minded people who are leaders and trendsetters." Let's go through his email. He says, "Hi Corey, I really love your online videos, and I believe you have a firm grasp on how to be the modern alpha male, a crucial goal of mine. Because I'm very intelligent and a little introverted, I tend to be a little more picky with non-family friendships and with women than the average person, which I know is common for similar people. So here's a question on relationships and how to tell if people truly respect me and are worth my time." And as you apply more and more of the things that I talk about and teach in my videos and in my book, I mean, I remember when, this is back in the mid-90s, when I was thinking about starting my own business, and I worked with dozens of really successful, really smart people. A lot of them were even way smarter than I was. And here I was leaving this company, this safe, stable environment. I was working for the largest construction group in the world at the time, Syntex. And I mean, this was my first business I'd ever started on my own, but I was certain of what I was doing. I was certain that it would work out one way or another, but I also had doubt at times. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm a pretty cocky bastard. I mean, here I am going to leave this stable environment. I got people, I mean, the guy that was the VP of the company, who spent his whole life with that company up until he retired a few years ago, he was a lifer. And he had people approach him over the years to start his own company or go work for a smaller company where he could have a little more control. And he was a company man. And I was thinking, this guy has all the success. He runs these big Disney jobs, $150 million jobs, all the biggest stuff that Disney World had built. He was the guy that was in charge of it. And I was thinking, if being successful and being a successful entrepreneur is so easy, why hasn't this guy left and done it? And so you see that. You see people that are older, they're more successful, or more respected than you are. And you're thinking, here you are, you're giving up working underneath them and their tutelage to go work on your own. And so when I worked there, I tended to hang out with most of the people that I worked with. And as the months and the years went by, when I was no longer working there, those people just kind of faded away. And it's, again, like when I talked to everybody before I was leaving, I was telling them what I was doing, and most of them were like, wow, that sounds really risky, man. I really like this stable job here. And I'm thinking, those are the kind of, and I had one guy that was supportive of what I was doing when I left. And it's like, it's just, when I look back on that event, which was basically 20 years ago when I was doing that, I had one guy out of 50 that I talked to that were part of the management team in that particular job, and one person, and he'd been an entrepreneur, most of his life up until because his company had gone bankrupt because he had done a bunch of work for some general contractors and the developers went under. It was like during the S&L crisis in the late 80s, early 90s, and he ended up closing up his family business that he'd had for 30-something years and then spending the last 10, 15 years of his working life working for somebody else. And since he had been an entrepreneur at one point and he knew how hard it was, but he's like, young guy like you, I think it's great. And I was stunned. But, looking back, I understand why. Because he'd been an entrepreneur, so he knew what it was like. He knew what it was like to have that kind of freedom. Especially if you're thinking about leaving a stable job or starting your own business. You're going to deal with that. Everybody you work with, most of your friends and family. And so the only people that you really should be listening to when you're making those life changes that are like that are like-minded people. People that are already successful that you want to do. You don't want to go tell people that have never owned their own business that you're starting their own business because they've never been through it. They don't know what that's like. They don't have any experience that they can share. And especially if you know people that started their own business and failed at it. Well, their worldview is they're a failure. And so if they know somebody else that's going to, oh, you don't want to do that. Hey, I tried that once and it didn't work out. Our family's not smart enough, or nobody in our families are smart enough. They've all been a bunch of business failures. Well, just because everybody else that you know has failed in business doesn't mean that you're going to. The smart thing to do is to go out and talk to people that are already succeeding at what you'd like to do, model what they are doing successfully, go work for them even, and apply that and you'll get the same type of results. He says, I have a low tolerance for people acting differently around me when they're around others and or in groups than they do when they're alone with me. That's the other thing. After I left Syntax Rooney, I wasn't hanging. Those guys, their worldview is being a company man or a company woman, working 25, 30 years for a company, getting your pension, and then you retire. So if that was my goal, they'd have been great people to listen to for that particular type of advice. But for what I wanted to do, which was become an entrepreneur, there was nothing supportive that they could say. The only person that was supportive was somebody that had been a successful entrepreneur for many decades until some events in the economy went the wrong way and he was caught with his ass hanging out in the breeze and he didn't get paid because a lot of the developers went out of business, so they sucked up all of his working capital. So again, if you want to become an entrepreneur, go talk to other people that are already successful entrepreneurs. Don't talk to people that you know that have failed because all they know is a business model of failure. Same thing about if there's a particular career that you want. Go talk to people that have their dream jobs, that have their dream careers. Don't talk to people that you know that are working a bullshit, shitty job and ask them for career advice because they're not going to have anything useful to help you with. For example, when they heard a stupid rumor about me, they assumed it's true without asking me, and they try to tease me about it in front of others to kiss ass. Well, what does that tell me? These people aren't real, true friends. A true friend, it's like, as I've gotten older, and I've talked about this in videos in the past, the amount of really good friends I have, I can fit them on one hand. I can count them on one hand. But when I was in my early 20s, I literally knew hundreds of people. I would go out on the weekends with my buddies, and there would be literally probably 40, 50 people that I would know, that I would see, and I would chat with. And at the time, I was like, oh, they're all my friends. They all care about me. But as I started to get a little older, I realized, no, most of them really don't give a flying fuck about me. And even some of those people that I used to think were my friends, it's like over the years, we were connected on Facebook, and somebody see they unfriend you because they don't like the things that I talk about or they post. Maybe they were ultra conservative or whatever it happens to be. I was thinking, we grew up together. Like, what the fuck? I thought we were buddies. I thought we were friends. That's the way it is. Your real true friends, the right peer group for you is going to be like-minded people that have positive, uplifting things to say. It's like the kind of people you want to be hanging out with are people that are already kind of further up the mountain, if you will, and they'll throw you a rope and help pull you up the mountain with them. But people that aren't there, people that are like further on down the mountain, it's like they're throwing ropes and lassoing you, trying to pull you back down to the mountain, back down to their level. Because when you do something like that, they're afraid that they're going to lose you Or B, you're a reflection to them of how unsuccessful they are. And if they can get you to stay at their level, they feel better about themselves. Because again, why do people not have the things they want in their lives? It's because the story that they tell themselves about why they don't have it, they can't have it, or they won't have it. And so when you're trying to get beyond your peer group and where they are, you're going to run into the limitations and the expectations of the people that are in your peer group. And if they're not trying to better themselves like you are, they're actually going to hold you back and try to drag you down to their level. That was really difficult for me in my 20s when I started moving away from friends that I'd grown up with, that I'd gone to high school, and you just like start leaving those people behind. And some of them don't react too well to you doing it. They talk shit about you. You think, we've been friends for over 10 years and you're saying shit about me behind my back? All because of jealousy and envy. And unfortunately, it's the way it is. And the only people that over the years I've really kept in my life are the ones that no matter what, they love you. No matter what, they have a positive thing for you. Going through a difficult time, like, oh man, you'll get out of it. No problem. You're one of the smartest guys I know. You'll be fine. Those are the kind of people you want in your life, because when you're having a difficult time, you don't want somebody going, oh, that's a stupid idea. Oh, what, you think you're going to be CEO of the company someday? Oh, you're a fuck. No, there's no way. You're not smart enough for that. You're not good looking. Oh, you want to be an actress? And you'll never make it. You're not good looking enough for that. I remember a girl I used to date. Her father was just real verbally abusive. He'd look at her and go, oh, you shouldn't wear that. You don't have the upper body to fill that out. You should go change that. Basically saying, oh, your tits are too fucking small. You should change that. They don't look good in it. You don't fill it out enough. If I can imagine. It's like people grow up in families that are like that. It's like no wonder most people are screwed up and they never try to step beyond their comfort zone. He says, I've confronted people about this crap, and sometimes very angrily. What is behind anger? Fear. Fear that we won't be accepted. Fear that we won't be loved by our friends, family, our peer group, or fear that we're not enough. Fear that we don't have what it takes to become what we're capable of. And again, if you have people like this that are phony people, they're not the kind of people that are going to help you get to where you want to be in life. So he says, I've confronted people about this crap, sometimes very angrily, and sometimes feel like I'm being too harsh, and I should just laugh it off, because really, it's no big deal in the overall scheme of things. But again, these people aren't really going to help you get to where you want to be in life. They're not in the same place that you are. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to know why it is that you do what you do. That's why you got to know why you want it, what you want, what you're willing to pay, the price you're willing to pay. Unless something's really emotionally compelling for you, you're just not going to do what's necessary. He says, I don't want to unnecessarily hurt myself by permanently pushing important people or people close to me away. Well, it's like one of the things that Tony Robbins, I learned from him many years. He says, love your family, but choose your peers, especially if you're the type of person that's taking a lot of risks and trying to stretch beyond your comfort zone. He says, so how should I handle this fake trying to fit in with everyone BS? And when should I be confident that person is truly coming after me and move on only to people who value me? Well, the key is to focus on what it is that you want. What do you want to create? What are the kind of people that you want in your life? And you should focus on spending your time with those kinds of people. Because obviously right now with what you're sharing here in your email, I can tell that you've got a lot of people in your life who simply are not supportive, and they're not going to help you get to where you want to be in your life. So I'm going to close with something that Mother Teresa said many years ago, and it really applies in what we've been talking about in this video. And she said, People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. We can do no great things, only small things with great love. It's one of my favorite things I have ever read of all time. And those are definitely some words to think about. And I will talk to you soon.